In our last lesson, we talked about the clouds in the sky. Now, in this lesson, we'll talk about the types of precipitation that can fall out of those clouds. There are four main precipitation types. The first one, pretty easy, it's rain. Temperature has to be above 32 degrees for rain to fall. And when I say above 32, I mean not just above 32 at the ground, but all the way up to the cloud itself. So the entire atmosphere has to be above 32. On the other hand, if you want snow, you need the temperature to be below 32, from the cloud all the way down to the ground. Those are the two easy ones. Things get a little bit more complicated, though, when we start talking about this wintry mix. Very often on TV, we'll say the wintry mix, and people get very confused by what that means. So, within the wintry mix, a few things can happen. One being sleet. Sleet are those little balls of ice. They kind of ping off your car, ping off the house. Now, very often people will get confused between sleet and hail. Both are made of ice, but sleet happens in the wintertime. Hail occurs when you have a thunderstorm. So usually that happens in the warm months. So you can only have hail if you have something like a thunderstorm. In the wintertime and you get those little balls of ice, it's sleet. How does that form? Essentially, at the cloud level, the temperature is below 32. So that means you actually start snowing near the cloud. But then as the snowflakes go down in the atmosphere, the temperature warms up above 32. The snowflake melts into a raindrop. But right at the ground, it gets cold again, going below 32. So that raindrop tries to refreeze. Can't refreeze into a snowflake, but instead it refreezes into one of those little balls of ice known as sleet. When I'm at the schools, I usually say think of this as like a cheeseburger or something with a chili bun on top, a chili bun on the bottom, and then your warm slab of meat in the middle. That's how the atmosphere basically looks. We also have something called freezing rain. It looks as though it's raining when you have freezing rain, but everything freezes on contact. That's when the power lines get caked in ice, your car might be coated, and you literally have to chip into it. So the freezing rain is particularly dangerous because of travel, and it can cause power outages. It's very similar to sleet, with one important difference. Again, near the cloud, it's cold enough for snow. Then that snow melts as it falls into warmer air. But the cold layer that it then encounters near the surface is very, very shallow. So it can't even refreeze into a ball of ice like sleet. It just freezes on contact. It's a very thin layer of cold at the surface. So both sleet and freezing rain start cold at the top of the cloud, gets warm in between, and then it gets cold at the surface. But for the freezing rain, the cold layer is very, very thin. That's all for precipitation. Coming up in our next lesson, things will get a little bit more exciting. We'll talk about thunderstorms.